How's it going, everybody? Good to see everybody here today. Good afternoon, and welcome to the JB Show on the Revolutionary Blackout Network. I'd like to give a warm welcome to all of you and remind you that the JB Show streams every single Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can catch me on the RBN Roundtable on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I also host my own channel called the JB Font Channel during the week on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please make sure to click that thumbs up. And if you are not subscribed, what the hell are you doing? And also make sure to click that bell icon just to let you know whenever we go live so that you can catch us every single time. Because you know that the Freudian slip there, YouTube algorithm don't like us. Well, yeah. Elon Musk don't like us either, but that's whatever. Hey, got me doing my Negro spirituals.
Somebody grew up in the church.
Yeah. I mean, pressing my keys and letting them jiggle in the air.
Oh, wild
boy. That's what he said. Anyway, so hello to everybody in the chat. Good to see you, CBC voter. Oh man, Harry Christopher, so good to see you as well. My homie, Sabby Sabs, doobie doobie doo. How are you? So good to see you as well. Terry Connolly, right there with us as always. So good to see you. Gary, hi. Now that I have the formalities out of the way, yes, no need of formalities, baby. Just kick up your shoes and relax your feet. We got that going on. Like I told you, I got some caffeine in my system. I'm ready to go today. Sweary Fairy, so good to see you. Hey, lovelies. Happy Sunday. Let me see. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. I apologize, but it's so good to see you. Nice to have you here as well. Robin Ryan, so nice to have you. I didn't go, my baby. Hi, good to see you.
I was surprised you didn't get it. It was DSLs.
Oh shit! Oh!
Oh!
Oh no! Wait!
They ain't playing DSL. Yeah, they ain't playing.
I like you. All right, sit on down, baby. We're gonna have ourselves a good time today. I like it. Gonna make a black man blush up in here, something that you never seen before. All right. I'm so stupid.
That energy is part of why I was like, oh, I can't wait to go hop on this show. Because hey,
I had to have some caffeine today because I was just like, man, it's like, man, I really want to talk to this dude, but I'm so tired. I was just like, what in the hell am I gonna do? And I'm like, and then the shadow part of me was like, get some tea. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, all right, okay, I'm gonna have some tea. But then I found out that the high caffeine black tea, my mom drank it all. So I'm like, damn, what do I do? So I saw that clip and I'm like, what's the caffeine content of this tea? I looked at it, I'm like, all right, 4 tea bags. Boom, there we go. Now, JB is wired. Oh boy. I apologize to everybody in advance for the stream.
Me too.
All right, Dragon Progressive, so good to see you. Yes, please hit that like button and please make sure to give it a comment. Let me know how much y'all like me or don't like me. I don't care. Well, I do care if you like me, but I don't care if you don't like me. It's whatever.
That's the good thing about them taking away the thumbs down. I don't even know when y'all thumbs me down.
I mean, I really don't care. I mean, to be honest with you, I kind of actually prefer to have the thumbs down because it gives you a synopsis of actually how people feel. But, you know.
Well, they're still going to get the same thing regardless, so I don't know what to tell them.
That's true. That's true, too. Savvy says, say, hi, Marcus and JB. So good to see my friend in the chat.
And thank you, Savvy, for joining me last night. It was awesome. It was awesome. She came on my on the Political Matrix last night, so it was great to have her there.
Mm-hmm. By the way, everybody, the thumbnail, that's the reason why I have it looking like the Matrix, because he has this show called The Political Matrix. See? Continuity. The more you know. See? All right. Paul Oliver, so good to see you. All right. Gary says, so knowing better just dropped a video, neo-slavery on the black code laws after Reconstruction is a must-see. That sounds interesting.
Mm.
I might have to give that a listen while I'm gaming.
I definitely will give that a listen while I'm writing out. I'm going to what is it? I guess a get together, an event out here in the LA area. So I'll give that a listen while I'm out. I'm one of those people where I love music, but I spend more time researching and listening stuff than I do actually listening to music. So I'll put on a podcast and break down some stuff. Also, look, I don't. Sorry to interrupt you, but I'll let you keep going because I appreciate people who do this, who recognize the people who hop in. I mean, this is something which is big on my platform that I like to do. So I always try to recognize as many people as possible. Sabby is good at doing that also. A couple of content creators are. So I appreciate it. Let me stop.
No. It's cool. And thank you for that. The reason why I say this because I try to keep this as an interactive program. I can't get to all the comments.
Of course.
The viewers are brilliant. And they will teach you as you go along. And that's one of the reasons why I'm like, no, screw, all that just talking at people. No, this is a conversation. And that's what I try to do. Sometimes I don't involve people as much as I would like to. I'm trying to be more cognizant of that and do that more. But yeah, I mean,
but I see your streams. You be having some good numbers, so it can be hard to catch as many people. The more you grow, it gets harder to catch as people as much. So I mean, I believe that the audience understands that, and especially if you got like a really serious kind of topic, or you got a guest that where you only say you have a guest for only 30 minutes. You gotta kind of get through that and get that content out, and then you can give your shout outs later. And I'm sure the audience understands.
Yeah. Thank you so much for understanding too. I appreciate that. So Robin, good to see you too. Higher than coffee if memory serves. Oh Lord, don't tell me that. Now I really mean my apology. All right. Anthony, good to see you. Sweary Fairy says life hack: French press plus protein power breakfast with energy. Ooh, no.
That sound like a workout breakfast.
No, you don't want me to doing that. If I start doing that, I will be a source of clean, renewable energy up in this mug. Put some jumper cables to my nipples and power all of Florida.
Oh wow! What part of Florida are you in?
I'm in Orlando.
Oh, okay. I used to live in Jacksonville.
Oh, okay, cool. So you got out the prison. Good for you. Human beings, so good to see you. You got great energy. Thank you so much. It depends on who you're talking to, though. Extra
hey,
good to see you. All right. Let me see. Lenin recognized Ukraine, a blessed revolutionary Sunday. Thank you so much. Is there anybody that I didn't get to yet? Choosy heretics, choose Carnation Revolution now. Chaga tea has the most morphinogenic nutrition and is delicious. Man, why you coming here with all these big ass words?
That's one of my good friends over there, and always like sometimes he be okay. Let me write that down.
Now I gotta look up the definition of morphogenic, and now I'm just like, what in the hell? Because now I don't want to feel dumb. I'm serious. Phogenic.
It's just gene altering nutrition.
You see, morphogenic, a formation of landforms and other stuff. I'll look it up later. All right, so good to see everybody. I don't want to take. Hang on. Kind of like Google, Mike does everything I say. Okay. And although Bender Simon says the back and forth, the beautiful tense dance of dialogue keep us moving. Thank you so much. Okay, so what I'm going to do. Oh wait, you gotta make sure I get to the people in Rockfin. Gotta make sure Lady Alex M. So good to see you too. I will not neglect you.
And
All
Alex
right.
M, thank you so much. Alex M sent me a Super Ray and my brother Shadow Band if he hops in here. And believe it or not, I've been doing content for about 3 years now.
Hmm.
I normally never ask for anything, and
Hmm.
so Indie Left News
Hmm.
allowed me to stream, kind of pirate stream on their rock fan. And so
Oh,
I didn't even think about Super Rays. And then after the show, he's like, "Hey, I'm sending you over these Super Rays." I'm like, "Sending me what?" And so it was literally the first time. So I was like, "Oh, that is so cool that people actually, you know, thought about anything that I had to say, and enough to that they wanted to send any kind of, monetary donation. So I much appreciated. I mean,
yeah,
I I I literally pay you guys to do this because I feel it's so important to get these messages out there that we talk about. So
yeah,
especially from our perspective, and I'm talking about, the
yes,
minority melanated persuasion.
yes, yes. Those of us who are 98% cacao, you know.
Well, I got a little bit more mixing in there than that.
Oh,
I
so
call. Mhm.
so do I. I got a little bit of I got a little bit of vanilla in there, but
Believe it or not, most of mine falls under some form of people who are still conquered. So, you got the heavy chunk of Native American, heavy chunk of however you want to say it, Hispanic, Latino, whatever, and then
Mhm,
we got that cacao going on.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. I actually, before we get into the topics at hand, but I actually did an ancestry. Uh, of course, I didn't pay for it because I ain't got no money like that. But a family member got it for me, and looking at it, I actually found out that a majority of my DNA is Nigerian,
Mm,
Nigerian and Cameroon. And so once I found that out, I was like, wow, I now, because you know how, okay, you get a lot of white people who go, oh, I'm French, I'm Welsh, I have German in this part, I'm Yugoslavian. And I'm just like, how do you know all that? And you got to realize that a lot of us black people, we don't know. I can't say I'm part Cameroon. I can't say I'm part Nigerian. I'm part Ethiopian. You can't. We don't know.
and let me add a little bit extra onto that. It
Okay.
on top of us not knowing, a lot of the DNA companies, along with most things in this, imperialist colonial society, are
Hmm.
racially biased, including the DNA tests. They will tell you, oh yeah, you got some black blood, but it's gonna not necessarily all the time be entirely accurate once it gets to describing which part of the African continent we come from. Now,
Yeah.
the European side, they will, yeah, you're good chance you're from, France, Poland. Well, they'll throw all that stuff out, and it's a lot more accurate when dealing with Caucasian people for some reason. Well, I'm not gonna say for some reason. I'll be a little bit mysterious on this, but
Hmm.
there are reasons why the DNA companies like to be a little bit mysterious when it comes to people like us, as far as our genealogical backgrounds.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very interesting because you get to the point where you're just like, yeah, like for instance, we have what we call a wall. And every black person, especially when it comes to genealogy, we know what that wall is.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be frank. Let's call a thing. It's the wall of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's something a lot of people don't know. People think that slaves were just people who work without pay and were abused. No, slaves were considered property.
Mm-hmm.
By property, I mean we didn't even have names. A cow could have a name, a horse could have a name. We didn't. We were property like a table or chair. That's
Mm-hmm.
how low they actually thought of us. Actually, a cow or a bull was considered to be more valuable than we were. This is why they would call us, sometimes they would call us names like they would call like a bull or something like that. They would use these type of animalistic names to describe either a male or female slave. So with that being said, it just shows that we were not regarded at all. The dehumanization that our ancestors went through. And also you got to remember this: Black culture in the United States is a culture that resulted from not having a culture to call back to at all.
Mm-hmm.
So we literally created a culture amongst ourselves because we could not go back to a Ghanaian culture or a Nigerian culture or a Ugandan culture. We could not trace ourselves back to that because it was forgotten. So so it's just a lot of times people just don't know that.
But see, a lot of people, especially a lot of our people, they stop themselves at that wall and they never ask this question. Why was it so important? All the slaveries that happened throughout time, you know, why in this particular slavery was it so important to change your names?
Yeah.
Never tell you where you're from and never explain anything about your culture. Your culture had to be stripped away. Like, for instance, you can go back to like the Silk Road slavery. Silk Road slavery, which happened across going into Europe and parts of Asia and stuff like that. They never, ever, ever felt the need to, we need to change your name. They never felt the need to say, you know what, you need to stop being part of the animalistic religions. You need to stop being part of the pantheon religions. You need to stop being part of Islam or whichever your faith was. They never took that away from those people. So why, when it came to the transatlantic slave trade, why was that so important? And our people, we go to 1619, we'll go there. Some of us will go back to a little bit further, 1492. When they start coming in and messing with the Tainos, but none of us want to go any further than that. None of us even think to go further than that and start trying to dig into that research. So that's where a lot of my history background comes from studying a lot of ancient history and, the moves and migration patterns of all these different people, trying to understand the different languages. And when you start understanding different languages, like when I started learning what a lot of things were just called in general and why they were called that, like Nigeria, perfect example. Nigeria literally just means land of black. And a lot of us don't even think about that. Like Jamaica just literally means like land of wood and water. I mean, it's a lot of these that were just, you can tell colonizers literally named these for what they thought of them as. And it could show you the totality of the domination of the colonizers.
Yeah.
Because their names of their places have very different names. Their names have a little bit more meaning. Whereas all of these other regions, they don't have that same meaning.
Yeah. You can tell just by looking at, for instance, the state that I live in, Florida. Florida is just a Spanish word for flowery. And it's like, and the Spaniards were huge colonizers, right? Yeah. Just look at all of South America.
Well, think about Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico means port of riches. Costa Rica, coast of riches. When you start going into more and more of these things, that's what they named. They named them from what they thought of them. And then think of Coast of Riches, Gold Coast, Ivory Coast. It all tracks. It all comes together. That these people, this was strictly business ventures for them, along with the human cargo or slaves. So when anybody tries to put that, indentured servant and slaves, or they try to say, everybody had slavery. Well, there's differences to this slavery. Yeah. Only when it comes to, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but forget it. Throw caution to the wind. When it comes to anytime Europeans were involved with enslaving people, it had to be a complete domination of the people. It had to be stripping away your culture. Even if you go back into Greece and to Rome, it was like, yo, eat this pork. I know your religion's against it, but you're gonna eat this pork, or we're gonna kill your baby. I mean, whereas even when you go into slavery that went on into China.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even have those levels of brutality and stripping away of culture. So it's just something to think about.
Yeah, and then a lot of times people will reference, well, they said, well, they had slavery in biblical times, and it's like, well, according to the Mosaic Law, that slavery's actually had a jubilee year, and they can choose to either stay. And slavery was more akin to being a worker instead of actual what we consider chattel slavery. That
Yeah.
being said, that person in that jubilee year could choose to either leave their master, basically their employer, or stay with them. And also, there was a rule in the Mosaic Law that you had to treat your slaves with dignity and respect. Therefore, and you could not overwork them. Being said, then guess what? Slavery, as far as biblically, as far as what it was in the Torah or the Old Testament, is not the exact same slavery as it is in chattel slavery that back in the 15, 16, and 1700s. It was not the exact same. So when people want to say, oh, there was slavery back then, yeah, that's a whole lot of bullshit. Number one. Number two, they never read their Bible. So that's what the thing is.
Boy,
I pre-short it off for 20.
You can get me. Woo, yeah, me and you, we need to talk off camera one of these times because when you start talking, on my other channel, Hebrew Apologetics, I teach the Bible. So, that's one of my big parts of my animating philosophy and the way I look at it and view things. And we were just literally teaching about dietary laws and basic breakdown on the Sabbath the other day. So, yeah. So we definitely talk on that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, but don't get me started, as I can go to a whole damn show talking about it. We'll completely derail everything.
Sometimes it's good to derail, you know what I'm saying? We didn't even get to my first story yet, man. We already.
Hey, you get with me, you never know. My shows are so unpredictable.
Sometimes it's good to go unpredictable because sometimes the best content comes out of that,
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person where I'm just like, just let it go and see where it flows, So that's what I like to do. But yeah, let me go to the chat just really quick. I'm pretty sure there's some thoughts on what we just said. Let me see. Sorry, Fairy says, I didn't know this part, but it explains why my stepdad's genealogy test was vague. It showed his Euro roots well enough, but not his African ancestry. Interesting, right? Almost started to sound like Yoda. Interesting, not.
Don't tell me you're a Star Wars nerd too, right?
Man.
We got to do this again, definitely.
Yo, they did my boy Finn wrong. They did him dirty, man. They could have made Finn like the shit in the sequel trilogy, but they didn't. They could have utilized them.
Do you know what they did to Finn in China? One of these times, look up a poster, Star Wars in China, the Chinese version.
Was it like he was a prominent figure in like the American ones, but then in the Chinese ones they made him very, very little?
Yep. Because of the racism that goes on in China, which is not often addressed, which see. And I'm talking to actually next Sunday, I'm having an interview with Carl Sa, which he does a Silk and Steel podcast, like dealing with all things China. So that's going to be a very interesting conversation.
Oh, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, no, they, it's typically when it comes to Chinese audiences, they typically kind of push people of color back a little bit. So that's one thing that
either they real cool with us or they real not cool with us.
Yeah. There's a lot of countries that's like that too. They're like, we don't like the Negroes, and or sometimes, depending, Well, I mean, I have had a couple of dudes from Europe that really like me. But that's a whole nother story.
I lived in Europe for a couple of years. So
really,
I was stationed in Sigonella in Sicily, and then I was in Rota, Spain also. So I've had my time in Europe, definitely.
You know what I noticed about people who have traveled abroad? They typically are more favorable to universal programs and things that are that there are more left ideals,
Mm-hmm.
and they also tend to, and I'm not trying to make a blanket statement, but from what I've observed, this is anecdotal, is that they tend to see humans basically as all the same, more so than not. Now,
Mm-hmm.
of course, some people, they still have their things that definitely can be debated, but a lot of times they tend to see things not as just this American style, like they don't see things through that lens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I,
that's something
I,
I actually noticed.
I will even go as far to say that even like when I was in the UK,
Hmm.
the most right wing that I ran into in the UK is basically our moderate Democrat. So the
Wow.
people over here who support like the vote blue no matter who,
Hmm.
that is the right wing party in the UK and in Scotland and places like that.
Wow, man.
I mean, some of them might have a little bit more of a anti-immigrant fervor, and the
Hmm.
reason why, and I guarantee you, if it was the same situation here, they would be more like that too here. The reason why is when we have these wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and other places, Niger, Chad, and we can go through the list, Yemen. It forces a lot of the people out of that country, and so
Yeah.
they migrate into, what's closest to them. They migrate into Europe. Europe is much smaller landmass, so they can't support nearly as many people, and so that really starts to. Everybody has an impact in feeling that, and so if you're the type of person where you're kind of more want everything to stay how you like it, and
Hmm.
only want to do a couple of tweaks around the edges, you notice that because it's something you have to deal with. And yeah,
Hmm.
they're
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
Well, maybe if they didn't destabilize the region and extract these countries of their resources, they wouldn't have to worry about it. But now, yeah, here
mm-hmm,
we are. They
yep,
decided to do that. They decided to basically do their imperialism thing,
mm-hmm,
to these countries. And now, guess what? Chickens come home to roost. And now y'all got to deal. It's like, okay, so y'all want to do this to our country? All right, we're going to be right in your face.
yep.
And
That's
that's
what that's what kills me with the right wing. It's like you guys support all the crap that the U.S. is doing. You guys supported Iran Contra. You guys supported the stuff, all the stuff that happened in Cuba. You guys supported all of this stuff. I mean, going all the way back to like the Banana Wars. You
yeah,
guys supported all of this stuff. About defending the whole American continent.
yeah.
And so because you guys did so many policies there, because of the different things you guys did with NAFTA, how you destabilized so many countries, and then but not even talking about all the crap that the CIA was doing.
Oh
When you
yeah.
start getting into all that, you guys are the reason for all of the immigration coming into the United States, and yet you don't want them here. Well, stop fucking with their country then.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I as a person, I as a socialist, I do believe in freedom of movement. So I'm just like, hey, y'all want to come over and take a visit or even come and live? All right, come on over. You know, I don't give a shit about those arbitrary lines.
Oh yeah,
But at the same time, it's like I don't want them to have to be forced to come here. You know, it's like
that
there's a
part,
difference. It's like I
that
want
part.
them just to, I want to change the pace. I want to move a little bit further north. All right, cool. But I don't want you. I don't want conditions to change to force you here. And the fact that our country, our government has done that is just is sick, because now you force them to have no choice but to move to here.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they try to move here, then you're like, oh no, y'all can't come here.
Mm-hmm.
Like then stop doing what you're doing in my country, man.
And on top of that, how did you guys build this nation? By hook and by crook. You stole, you robbed, you killed, you genocided for it. And then you have the nerve to tell people they can't come here?
Yeah.
If it was fine for you to come, and they're not even trying to come in and kill and steal, all they doing is trying to find, a little bit better of a life. And I feel like this in any country you want to go to, as long as you feel like following the rules of that nation, as long as there's nothing that's extremely, outside the bounds, and it's kind of like, insane. Like, I don't think that you should literally have to go to a nation, have to wear burqas and all that stuff like that. But that's a whole nother issue. But if the nation is like, okay, yeah, you want to come in, you want to pay taxes, and okay, it's this much for that, and these are fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, because especially all over Europe, you have a lot of migration which goes back and forth with many of those nations. And so if as long as you're not coming and saying, you know what, we're going to come to the country, we're going to completely throw out whatever constitutions in these other countries. Now, of course, when it comes to this colonizer nation, it's a little asterisk next to that, because I don't really care if you change a lot of these laws. But some of these other nations which were established in different means, like for instance, in Italy, do I feel like a bunch of British people should go to Italy and tell them, no, you guys shouldn't observe Raposa anymore? Which, for those who don't know it, Raposa is like a big break you take in the middle of the day, and you spend a lot of time with your family, your friends, you get to have lunch and dinner. They don't do that in the UK. So I don't think that they should go there and change those types of customs laws, But if you got some messed up stuff like no-knock warrants going on, that kind of shit needs to fucking go.
Yeah. In fact, it's interesting we're talking on this point, because this actually has to do with the article that I actually wanted to get your reaction to.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a gander here. This is going to be very interesting. This is from EU Observer, and it says a call to release migrant detainees in Ukraine. I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Quaker Anarchist for sharing this article with me. There's a call to release immigrant detainees in Ukraine. So it starts off, it says, over the past 3 weeks, Ukrainian people have become one of the largest refugee populations on the planet. But for much of the past decade, Ukraine, with the help of the European Union, has acted as a border guard for Europe, keeping those fleeing war and poverty from reaching safety. Even amidst this terrible war, Ukraine continues to play this role. On March 11th, the Russian airstrike hit a military airfield in Lusk, western Ukraine, killing 2 members of the Ukrainian armed forces and wounding 6 others. Almost 2 weeks later, and only 40 kilometers from the bomb site, the European Union funded detention facility holding between 35 and 45 persons has not yet been evacuated. According to the Lighthouse reports, the detainees of the Zuraviki, I hope I pronounced that correctly, center are nationals from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Cameroon, India, Pakistan, and Sudan. Among them, a 31-year-old Afghani woman and her 2.5-year-old son, and a Pakistani national whose embassy has denied that he is there. 5 Ethiopians were released and relocated to Romania after their government intervened. Calls for remaining detainees have been released, who presumably cannot evoke consular assistance because of their situation of risk, have fallen on deaf ears. So just at this initial first part, I would like to get your reaction to this story.
Well, it makes sense if you really think about what goes on inside of Ukraine. For those who, without thinking about right now the whole context of Russia and Ukraine and this whole conflict that's going on, or civil war, as I see it, we're talking about a nation which is, was very impoverished, and before that, a really big staple point of it was corruption and racism. Now, I know a lot of people know about the Azov Battalion, especially, in the lefty circles, but they have always, and even outside of the Azov Battalion itself, their nation is a very kind of more on the racist side. People who are not even part of the Azov Battalion. Sabi, a shout out to her, excellent work that she did, showing what the Red Cross tells you if you want to be a volunteer, letting you know the context of what you're walking into. So with that frame of mind, knowing that these people have a different way which they treat anybody that's not one of them. And so just the whole context of how the Azov Battalion in the Donetsk region has been treating, the Russian speaking, or actually some of them former Russians who lived in that region, and even how they treat the people in the Crimean borders. This is something which is showed that they have a different way which they treat people, and they have a very, we're like this. If you're Caucasian and you're not one of us, you're a step below. If you're outside of even Caucasian, you're even a couple more steps below. So the fact that they would have a detention center and treat the people in the ways which they do, it doesn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if you start digging in there and you start finding a lot of the same experimentation with medicines and drugs that we saw here in the United States from the 40s into the 70s, if you know what I'm talking about. Yes, Tuskegee reference there. And we've already found biolabs, and at first they say, oh, well, that's not a real thing. That's fake news. That's Russian propaganda. Then, Newland comes out and admits it. And then if you've seen everything, they've had to walk back and walk back and walk back. So the fact that they have in migrant camps, and the fact that they will not release people. And if you notice which regions it is, it's a lot of people which are coming from what we will call the, I guess, let's say the Levantine area. A lot of these people, the way they treat them, and then you factor in what a heavy population of people who go, who live there, it kind of reminds me very similar to what you have going on in Israel. You have an area where you have a large population of, and believe it or not, in Israel, you have a large population of Russian Jews and Ukrainian Jews. Now, kind of odd to me that you have Russian Jews, Ukrainian Jews in large population, and for some reason, the people who are in those Levantine areas at their borders are being treated like crap. Wonder if that's a coincidence.
Interesting. Let's get back to that article.
Yeah.
Let's get back to it. All right. So this says EU funded detention centers in Ukraine. So it talks about, it says, since the mid-2000s, tens of millions of euros in European public money has poured into Ukraine to construct detention facilities, train prison guards, and detain refugees, many of whom are in overcrowded facilities with poor hygiene, where they were beaten, tortured, forced to sleep on the floor, and deprived of food. Where does that sound like? Where does that sound like? Marcus?
That sounds a whole lot like the United States and Israel.
You don't say.
Wonder where they're learning these things.
Where would they learn these things, huh? Makes you think, like, So people who are, have got a little bit more melanin in their skin, somehow they get beaten, tortured, forced to sleep on the floor, and deprived of food.
Doesn't that sound similar to a place? What is it? Abu Great.
Yeah. Right?
I'm telling you, the more I started looking at, and this is why I love the fact that you're so into foreign policy and paying attention to this stuff like I do, because I feel like the people in our community, I'm talking about y'all Black folks, do not pay attention to this stuff because y'all feel like, oh, that's some stuff that's over there. But what you start realizing is a lot of the stuff that's happening in all these countries is very similar to what's happened to us in our own communities.
Yeah.
Oh, Lenin recognized Ukraine. Yeah, I'm not going to go down any conspiracy route, but I will say this. Haven't we noticed that at least over the past, what year? Because I noticed somebody throw out about the Hunter Biden laptop. Everything that's been considered a conspiracy over the last probably year to 2 years has been kind of vetted as not being a conspiracy and actually being factual. So, do we need to actually revamp what we consider conspiracies and what is just because anything can be a conspiracy if somebody said, you know what, I think Marcus and JB are going to be on live tomorrow. I mean, or today. Isn't that technically a conspiracy?
Okay, I heard this from oh my God, Russell Brand. I started to blank on his name. I heard this from Russell Brand and I thought it was funny. He said, "What's the difference between the truth and a conspiracy?" About 6 months.
Oh yeah.
Every single time, and like there's a lot of things that we're talking about. We're like, yeah, this is happening. Next thing you know, the State Department goes, no, that's a conspiracy. No, mm-mm. Or another government institution is like, no, that's a conspiracy. Next thing you know, 6 months later, well, actually, it was true. We didn't mean to actually let you guys know that it was a conspiracy, but because of the laws, and we have to put this information out. There's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, George went there. Revelations 2 and 9, and you could throw 3 and 9 too, but I ain't sure. No, don't read that one out loud. I'm just saying. And another thing. Yeah, don't touch it. Don't touch it. It's radioactive. But one thing that I've just learned, and like here's something I told people. I said, you want to try to boycott most of these courts, because I remember when I was like, really getting my political footing, probably like 15 years ago, and I was like, you know what, this company does this, so I'm gonna boycott them, and I'm not gonna mess with them, and I'm not gonna mess with them, and I start realizing, damn, who can I mess with? Because then when I started looking further up that tree of how these corporations are owned and who owns this and who has stock in that, I started realizing, man, BlackRock, Berkshire Hathaway, these corporations own damn near everything. When you start going into the tech stuff, you're like, well, a lot of stuff is under Google's umbrella. And then you figure, well, you know what? I'm not going to deal with Google. I'm going to go to DuckDuckGo. And you start realizing they're falling up under a lot of the same pressure. Oh, thank you, Sabby, and Vanguard. And you start realizing they're falling up under the same pressure, which a lot of big tech censorship goes through the State Department and DARPA and through these different people like Ro Khanna. And so you start realizing, they control all the gateways, all the doorways. Yeah. It's all controlled by handfuls of people, which I say all the time on my show. Sorry about that. It's a handful of people who run a lot of this stuff. They just do what's called diversify.
Yep.
I mean, think about it. As far as cable news, and hopefully it's not anybody in your audience watching a lot of cable news and taking any of that serious, unless you're just watching it, to hate watch, or watching it to give us those once in a lifetime jewels of somebody saying something extra stupid. You start finding out that these are in the handful. I mean, all of these media conglomerates are in the hand of like 4 or 5 different corporations.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, remember the thing which came out with Sinclair not that long ago? Where
I showed that a few what was that? A couple months ago I showed that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the system we're living in. And so as you start seeing it and seeing how this whole thing is like manifested and put together, you start realizing the game is rigged.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're singing that old song, "Who can I run to?
I need love. Oh,
when I need stuff."
Mm-hmm.
Who can I run to? Like it's like, and it's like a lot of people on the left say there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. You cannot, like, there's real talk. there's times where I want something,
or let's
like,
say laissez-faire capitalism. Or let's say laissez-faire capitalism, because
laissez-faire.
meaning unregulated capitalism. Because it's like boxing is okay if you're boxing in the same weight classes, but this system we live in, you got heavyweights fighting featherweights, and that's our capitalist system. Versus
Yeah.
if it was okay, JB opens a barbershop and I open a barbershop and we're both small, you allow us to be able to, fight out on our business level however we want to. But if I come in with supercuts and I put 15 of them right around JB and I start charging $3 for haircuts to run him out of business, that's the problem. That's the same thing which Walmart does, which when I went to business school, one of the first things you learn, there's a whole chapter literally in ethics about Walmart. Alone by themselves. They do this kind of practice. They go in intentionally and try to push out small mom and pop businesses.
Yeah. I mean, as far as determining which type of capitalism, I'm gonna disagree because I'm completely anti-capitalist, period. But yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, I just believe, I'm not trying to go, but I just believe, like, before I kind of got like just threw my hands up, said, oh, I'm done. I was a democratic socialist. And so I believe that there had to be a mix. All governments have a mixture of the two. Got a little bit, you got to have, if you don't have a strong safety net, then you allow for your people to be taken advantage of completely by capitalism. And then if you don't allow at least a little bit of capitalism, even if it's small, then you're going to have those people who are going to try to tear down whatever, if you're trying to go for, say, a full socialist, they're going to try to tear down and destroy it and corrupt it in some kind of ways. Because if we were starting from scratch, that's the thing. If we were starting from scratch, we could be able to do it. But because the system is so already corrupted, it's like telling somebody, hey, you're going to be on an all vegetable diet. Yeah, but you already been eating meat and sugars and all this stuff that's bad for you. It's hard to go that full, clean bill of health. You get what I'm saying? You can disagree. It's all right. I still love you, JB.
Yeah, I do disagree. Part of the reason why is because capitalism is one of the reasons why we were brought here. I mean,
yeah.
And my thing is that I'm not against commerce. See,
commerce is still a form of capitalism. If we're going to the pure definition of it.
Okay.
Unregulated capitalism. That's why I kind of draw a little bit of a difference. Like, if I just wanted to be like, hey, I got these t-shirts, I'm not harming anybody. Let's say I went to you, I bought t-shirts from you, and I pressed and drew my designs on them and just sold them. Sold them for a fair, even price.
Okay.
I'm not harming anybody, right?
Now, here's the question. When you start to grow, and now there is a battle between you paying someone a fair wage for their labor, and there is a battle between you making as much profit as you can versus them.
But see, that's when we're going into that's when we're expanding on that definition of capitalism versus the very basic, simplistic form. Because sometimes that business doesn't grow and it just stays at that. And it's just me in my garage or whatever, just me just selling t-shirts. And that fabric came from JB. Remember, I said the fabric came from JB. So like, that's where the fabric comes from. And so if it on that small level of just me not harming anybody, me not doing anything wrong, that's one thing. But when you start rising to a large business, like the example you're laying out, and now I'm starting to depress the wages of my people for more capital. Now we're starting to get into laissez-faire. We're starting to get into what do they call it? Venture capitalism, where it's about taking advantage. Because I've been into many countries, like for instance, like Greece, where they're kind of more of a democratic socialist country. You don't. I didn't run into a lot of people who were like how here, where you have CEOs that need to make 500 million times more than their employees. You know, this capitalistic system, or I'll say the West in general, runs it to its most evilest form. I never thought I would have to be defending capitalism in any way. I'm defending it just the basic, because there are those different levels. Also, that's all I'm saying.
As far as capitalism is concerned, it is okay. Let me ask you this. You start a business and you hire people, and they contribute to the success of the business. Is it just you that owns the business, or do the people also incur ownership?
Once you start growing as a business, you under my understanding of how you should be, and I'm talking about from a democratic socialist. So there's that mixture of a responsibility to your people and the people who help. It's kind of like if you grew up and you became a big time basketball player, you didn't do that on your own. You had your parents who took you out. You know, they bought you your shoes, they bought you this. You had your coaches. You had a team that you were allowed to play on. You had education. You had all these things that went into it. And it's the same thing with that business. You have these employees which help get you to that next level. They help you meet these dividends. They help you be able to push out more orders. And so the same time, you owe these people for that success which you now have. So they are a portion. They are, though maybe you might not have them on the on your contracts as technically owning a portion. If you are not paying them that fair wages and that portion which they are helping you bring in, and you're pocketing it, then for one, I feel like it's something wrong in your soul if you're doing that. Because I definitely believe in fair wages, you know, for fair work back in the day. That's how they used to say it. Also, I believe that, you know, just like the Bible says, if you don't pay a man every day, that's almost the same as death or stealing from him. Forget this. Oh, well, I'm going to pay you in 2 weeks. No, you did this for me. I need to pay you. Period. I owe you.
Okay. This is a wider conversation that it's going to have to happen at another time.
Oh yeah, I just see everything. There's gray areas in everything. That's just my own personal thinking.
I got you. I still disagree, but we can touch back on this at another time when I'm actually a little bit more prepared.
Just like I tell people, there's no actual, in my understanding, there's no actual real communist government that's ever really existed. Because in order for you to have a communist government, everybody has to be completely equal. How can you have a leader and be equal? How can you have somebody who's up on that higher stage and be equal? Because they're going to have more security. They're going to have different treatment to be in that role than the rest of the people. So the moment you start separating governments and all that, you completely destroy the idea of having a communist government.
Yeah, but there's most governments that try to be communist are on their way to it. They're not actually there. They're basically a socialist government that is in transition to try to become communist, because communism is basically a classless, stateless society. So, with that being said, they try to get to that point, but a lot of times, they are in that transition period. And what also makes it a little bit more difficult is because of capitalist governments like the United States and many other Western governments that actually push them. Whereas, for far as things like uh, um, as far as sanctions and embargoes and things like that. So,
Well, yeah,
unfortunately,
I agree.
it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
So, um,
And you have to do all the travel to get to all of these other nations and stuff. So who's going to be funding this travel for these handful of individuals to bid on your behalf? The rest of the people are not getting that ability to be able to travel and to make the decisions on that high level. So at a certain point, you're still separating yourself. Those leaders have to be put a little bit above at least. And just by the way this system is set up, I mean, that's what it says. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So we until there's a way to take these people down a couple of pegs, all of our visions are all kind of stifled. You get what I'm saying?
mhm, yeah. Yeah, this is gonna be a conversation that's gonna take a while. So, but yeah, back to the article
Oh yeah,
that we were talking about at hand. Let's go back.
double standards. Good title.
Yeah, definitely. It says the EU has been. Let me see. Hang on. Where was I at? Okay, the EU has been commended for opening its borders to millions of refugees fleeing Ukraine. This stand, I'm sorry, but this stands in stark contrast for the way it has treated refugees fleeing other conflicts. A closer look at the EU's temporarily protection directive, enacted on March 4th, shows that even among those fleeing Ukraine, equal access to protection is not guaranteed. The operational guidelines specify that the TPD applies to Ukrainian nationals, those legally residing in Ukraine, or stateless persons only, leaving those with an irregular migration status in limbo. Um, and this is something that I actually thought that was pretty shameful. It says, by shameful comparison, lions, tigers, and other animals in Ukraine zoos were relocated to Poland in early March, exposing Europe's skewed policies. It talks about how um, it says, firstly, by being locked up in EU's funded facility while war rages outside, they cannot flee, and secondly, by impeding them from seeking refuge, the same protection granted for others fleeing the same war should be eventually be released because of an irregular status. So basically, animals were able to be relocated,
Mm-hmm.
but the people who are in detention centers, namely a lot of black and brown people who are in Ukraine and these detention centers by the EU, are being held there and being surrounded by warfare.
Something that sticks out to me what you read in there, and I can't get
Mhm,
past that.
mhm.
What is an irregular migration status? How is that determined or defined? What is considered irregular? Because that seems like one of those slippery gray areas where, let's say, for instance, I'm those Ukrainian officials. And let's just say, you know what?
Mhm,
Yeah, JB, he's here. He's doing
mhm,
college. But you
mhm,
know what? Because he goes back and forth to his family back in the US, you know what? I would say he's irregular.
mhm.
It just seems like one of those excuses thrown in for Ukrainians to be able to justify
Yeah.
treating non-whites different.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just me getting hung up on that one word there or
Mhm,
not, but it is kind of mind-boggling. And that circles back to what you were saying earlier when you were
mhm,
talking about the chattel slavery and
mhm,
how in the first parts of slavery, a lot of the earliest slaves weren't even given names. They were just treated like cattle, and cattle was treated, I mean, not cattle. Animals were treated above slaves, and this talking about the treatment for animals being better than people in 2022 is it's weird how that I don't want to say weird. It's strange how that reality is still being manifested even in modern times.
Yeah, it's just crazy because the thing is that the humanity of people is conditional based on the amount of melanin you have in your skin. It's just weird to me. It's weird and it's just wrong.
I mean, you know what? I don't even think about it. And a lot of people, like, I remember when Whoopi got in her trouble when she said the Holocaust was white on white crime, and everybody blew a gasket about it. And they said, "Whoa, there wasn't even this construct of race and stuff." Yes, it was a construct of race way before then. I'm like, do you guys not hear about a certain people called the Moors? Do you know why the Moors wasn't just one group of black people? The Moors was a bunch of different groups of people throughout Africa and throughout the so-called Middle East and Asia. It's a mixture of people. But you know why they were called Moors, JB?
Who?
The Moors. Do you know why they were called that?
No, I don't.
The reason why they were called Moors is Moors goes back to the word moreno.
Okay.
Which means dark. I mean, even if you go to what the word Ethiopia means, Ethiopia meant burnt face. And so for anybody to try to tell me that, oh, this racial construct or this racism, this is something new. This is not something new. This is something that's been going on for a very long time. And in proof of it, you can look into the early whitewashing, which you saw in the Renaissance period. This isn't something new. This is a mentality that certain people have in them, that they've continued to have in them. And we're just starting to see it more manifest. Like we talked about before we hopped on the stream, how, you know, me and JB, we're kind of closer to the same age group. We remember in our communities how police would treat us. And I'm not saying that still does not happen, because we definitely see it happening all the damn time. We just saw it. What happened with George Floyd not that long ago. It still happens. But what we're saying is it happened at so much of a higher, more flagrant level when everybody didn't have a camera phone. I mean, I know you remember Rodney King, don't you?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and,
I mean, I was a kid, but I remember.
I say talk to any of your black friends out there, people who are non-melanated, and ask them, especially ones who are, let's say, mid to late 30s into 50s. Every one of them is going to have a story for you that they personally experienced.
Yeah.
Am I wrong, JB?
I got a story that just popped up in my head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because this isn't like, oh, that's messed up. That just happened to that one guy way over there. No, for us, it's not that one guy that happened over there. It's something, it's a pattern that we see all the way across as Native people. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all share some type of experience one way or another. And I mean, I can share my experience. My brothers, you know, I got 2 brothers, and they have experiences too, you know, as black men, you know, in this country.
And then you get it, and I know you would have to be getting a double fold being a part of the LGBTQ community.
I do, and as well as disabled too. Because you know,
so wow, 3 ways. Sorry, man.
Yeah. So you know, that being said, you have certain expectations. You have the way you're viewed if you don't tread a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I kind of have a little bit of privilege because of the way I speak and the way I carry myself through my upbringing, as well as the environment that I was subject to. But the thing is that is that's modeled after a more Americanized or Eurocentric type of way. Because
Don't
I can use
name.
Ave, I can use it, and I code switch like a mug,
Mm-hmm.
but I shouldn't have to in
Shouldn't have.
order to feel safe and protected in this country.
Well, what does that say about this country when just the difference of your name,
Yeah.
James Fauntleroy,
Hmm.
that makes a difference. If your name was Malcolm Jenkins, or if it was, say, Leroy Jones, how much of a difference that shows you how sad it is in the country. That little bit of a difference, how much that can affect everything.
Yeah.
Getting the loan, getting the job. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sad. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my life as far as dealing with police and employment would be harder if I was a Jamarcus
Oh yeah.
or if I was a Dontavius.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, or a
I don't
Kwame.
know how the hell
Like,
Katana
like,
made with
like,
you.
and it's crazy because the thing is, people will say, "Oh, well, we've gotten better." Like, no, we haven't. No, we haven't. You know,
We talked about that last night, me and Chris on our show, and
mhm,
I talked about it a little bit with Savvy on Dr. King. Dr. King's dream versus where we are. How much do we even feel he would have been satisfied with where we got? Because one point that I always think about is we're always taught the "I have a dream" speech, but nobody
mhm,
talks about the mountaintop speech. And the mountaintop speech goes into the economic trauma that we go into. It
mhm.
goes into workers' rights. It goes into all these different things that, it's fine to be able to have inclusion as far as all the races, kumbaya. Okay, that's good. But what about the economic side that was never fixed from Jim Crow, from Black Crows, from slavery?
Yeah.
None of these things have been rectified.
People never ever reference the letter from the Birmingham jail or the Tale of Two America speech. They
Mhm.
never reference those where, in order to get to that point where you can have that dream where black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, and all the children holding hands around the world, you
Mhm.
actually have to change their economic position in order to make it equal so that people
Yeah.
can actually have that. And the
Yeah.
thing is that they never really do it because the goal is to keep one person at a certain level and the other person at another level, just so that you can have more than the other person. I
Mhm.
mean, that's the system that we live in,
Yes, it is.
and thing is that the powers that be were cool with Dr. King talking about racial equality. They really didn't give a crap about it, right?
Mhm.
It was until economic equality was presented, then it was like, okay, we got to get rid of this guy.
Mhm.
Because guess what? What was it the FBI said? We don't want another Messiah.
Yep.
Every single time someone who is advocating for economic equality in this nation gets a large platform, that is when they're considered dangerous.
Mhm.
I'm not considered dangerous. Rome's not considered dangerous. You're not considered dangerous. None of us are considered dangerous because we're not big enough yet. Once we get that big enough, then we're considered dangerous.
But if you think that they're not on to watching me, to watching you, to watching Rome, to saying, we cannot let them get over a certain level, especially the stuff which Rome is doing, all across the country.
Oh yeah.
They cannot allow those messages to get out there. And then what'll happen is if they do, we end up becoming martyrs in some kind of strange way. What'll happen is they're going to whitewash and spin the story. They're going to only talk about half of what Rome talks about. They're only going to talk about half of what JB talks about. They're going to talk about half of what Marcus talks about, or even like another person who I enjoy, Black content creator, or Sabby, or Nick. They're not going to give that full lens. What's his name? Marcus Garvey. They'll say Marcus Garvey's name all day long, but they won't tell you why Marcus Garvey was such a significant figure in history. You'll go through Jacksonville and you'll see A. Philip Rudolph Bridge and street, but you don't know why the heck he even mattered. You'll learn the name Medgar Evers, that he was shot down in his driveway, but you won't know why. You hear the Cesar Chavez, you'll hear these names, but won't know the true totality of what was important about what they were trying to do.
Yeah, of course.
And I can't forget, especially because you guys' former name, the contributions of Fred Hampton.
Yeah, but the problem with Fred Hampton was he got too big, and so they had to get rid of him.
Any of us get too big.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And people are, and this is one of the. I hate the. Okay, I'm gonna get a little negative here, and I do apologize. A trigger warning for some of you, but I don't see myself living past 50. I got 12 good years left. I honestly feel that way.
Well, I hope you're wrong.
I hope so too,
because we need people like you out there doing what you do.
Thank you. The same to you. But the thing is that the way this system works, nah. Because the thing is that
you guys have been growing. So I mean, and I want to say, didn't you guys just hit your 15,000?
Yeah, we just hit 15.
So yeah, congratulations and shout out to y'all for that. But
thank you.
You guys are growing, and it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah,
doing great things and helping a lot of people and helping wake up people, but that scrutiny, that light that comes with that, you have good reason to be concerned and worried. I told people, I said, people would say, if I you should run for politics. I'm like, you know how fast I would be saying?
Oh man, yo, they
politics and find out that Pelosi did this or stock trading. I would be on MSNBC the next day, like, yo, this chick over here trading off of information that we just got from the State Department. Y'all think that's
Marcus?
Cool? You know how
Marcus?
They were like, he somehow fell down the stairs, broke all of his bones, and then broke his neck last.
They Kennedy my ass. Yo, I wouldn't even make it to inauguration.
They not letting me get on city council.
They wouldn't let me be a dog catcher.
Maybe you can be corner.
Maybe they want me to visit the coroner. But it just goes to show that, when you're trying to make it so that it's a more fair and just system, the people at the top, and when I'm talking about people at the top, I'm not talking about the most obvious people. I'm not talking about the Musks, and the Bezos and them. I'm talking about the people at the top. I'm talking about the people who are owners of like JP Morgan and the IMF and all these other people. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
That's who I talk about, JB.
Yeah. They do not want us to realize that, first of all, they don't want us to know who they are. That's one. Because the greatest deception is knowing that you don't know that they exist.
Yeah. Why do you think they have everybody focus on only Bill Gates, only Elon Musk, only Jeff Bezos, and then Klaus Schwab. Just focus only on the World Economic Forum. Now, I'm not saying that's not a part of it, but only focus there. Do not ever think about looking above that or around it. Stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, they're like, look at Ronan when Thanos is right there. Geek reference. See? There you go. See my geek reference?
I caught that.
You got me here? You got me. Okay. All right. But yeah, I mean, and any of you guys who watch the Marvel movies, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, why are we focusing on Ronan when Thanos is right there? And it's just like, well, he's working in the backgrounds. What did Thor say? Someone is playing a very intricate game.
Yep.
And guess what?
Then to go a level above that, Thanos is even playing a game.
Yep. So,
he's still answering to somebody.
Yep, he's still answering to somebody. Well, if you look at the comics, he had a little thing with a lady.
Yeah. Kind of. I don't know. It's almost like they wanted to find a way to put some submissive BDSM in there and kind of disguise it. So I feel like that's what they did there. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
I can't with you right now because look, if you start to go there, then that means I'm going to escalate.
That's why.
And if I start to escalate, it's all over.
That's why it's going to be problems. Put me on with JB. It'd be problems.
No, don't you go there. Don't you go there. Because next thing you know, I'm going to have to switch the stream all the way over to Walkfin exclusively.
Hey, y'all, let us know if y'all want to see me and JB. Problems in the chat. Because we raw.
No, baby, I like it raw.
Ooh, baby, I like it raw. Hey, I'm telling you.
Oh man, you got JB coming over here and sound like ODB up in this, please.
I'm academic, but I'm still a wild boy. You gotta remember, I'm an old sailor now. Hey, I'm a Navy vet, yo. Even though I see the BS of what our country does, I still have not gotten rid of the party side. It's still in there. That party monster. Them European clubs are still there.
Yep. Now stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin the image and the lives that you used to.
It looks funny, but still I'm making money.
Come here, are you ticklish? I once got busy in the Burger King bathroom.
Boy, you'll get us in all kinds of trouble.
I'm gonna get you. Look, I'm gonna get
all the lions.
Look, I am so glad that I have not had a drink or had these edibles before the stream, because y'all be in trouble right now.
Hey, people will tell you, like, especially Glory. Glory loves, and for y'all, if y'all don't know Glory Jones, give her a shout out.
Glory Jones, that's my homie.
Glory
she is I love brilliant. She's a teacher, man.
He calls me Drunkle Uncle Marcus. So they call it Drunk Uncle Marcus. They love to see that. And shout out to Uncle Warren down there. When we went on there, I told him, I was like, yo, I don't normally drink that often. So I'm gonna have a little bit, since I can't blaze no more. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have a couple of drinks and I'm gonna let loose, and I let loose. We'll just say that.
Okay. All right. Shorty, get loose, baby, do what you did. Let me see you break down your hair. Sorry.
Oh,
sorry. I need to stop. Every single time somebody says something, I have a musical reference inside my head. Look, let me tell y'all something. Let me learn you something. Okay? JB, when JB has energy and he's lit, look, I'm gonna tire y'all out. I'm gonna tire y'all out. For real. Like, hold on. I think there was a tip on Rockfin that I need to get to.
Yeah, do that.
Hang on. Damn. Y'all been having a conversation over on this side, and I just I've been.
You getting to the point you might need to have you what those people call? You might need to have you a producer that can help keep up with all that. Hey,
When I can start paying for one, maybe.
a good problem to have though when you start getting to that point. Good problem to have.
Yeah. Laura Beza, thank you so much for the tip on Rockfin. Fred Hampton Lanthus received a tip. Thank you so much. So oh, Laura says, yeah, first time I seen it pop up on Rockfin. We need outside the box thinking like this, so Rockfin doesn't become all Alex Jones type show. Yo, okay, so I'm gonna give y'all. Okay, this is something I'm ashamed to say, but I'm gonna say it. All right, when Alex Jones first came out, I used to watch him, but this was before he went off the reservation,
all the way off.
Because he was talking about like the Bilderberg group, he was talking about different conspiracy theories and stuff like that, and I was like, yeah, the government be doing some shit, and I was down with him. But then next thing you know, he went to the right, to the right, to the right, to the right, and I was just like, hey, yeah, no, I'm going to the left, to the left, to the left, because he was just. Yo, I'm just gonna let him walk by himself, walk by himself, because he was just off the like homeboy was off the reservation so bad. I was like, yeah, you stay over there, bro, because you going crazy. Because I was just like, nah. But yeah, but yeah, I watched him for a little bit at that point in time. Look, I've grown. Okay, so there is.
You start talking about the Alamolek. Speaking of that, I just got my super paganistic coffee, which I don't like this company, but hey, it is what it is.
Okay.
You guys ever pay attention to the Starbucks logo?
I heard there was something about it back in the day, but I can't remember exactly.
Well, what they've done is they've taken the ancient god Dogon, fish god, and that's where, like, if you look into the popes, the miters, it's like a fish, the old concept drawings and statues of Dogon. That's how they used to be. Well, if you look at the Starbucks and you look at that label around, because I'm not going to promote them at all, but they have that fish logo, and that's going into Dogon.
Interesting.
Oh yeah. Well, because you told me about Alex Jones, and you told me about about more into that. You were into that Bilderberg lane for a while. Like, I remember what that party, what it's called. I know you saw his famous video, right, where he goes to the town up in Northern California, right?
I don't know.
Called right now.
I'm trying to. I don't remember, but
man, I can't remember. So you know about the 50-foot owl statue, right? Do you know about that? Well, at a certain, they've shut it down now, but for a time period, a lot of the elite politicians from all over the world used to come out to California and go to this place in Northern California and do these weird rituals. And I heard something
about that.
Yeah, a mock sacrifice. I know Choosy Heretics out there, so Choosy, there we go. Bohemian Grove. Thank you, Uncle Warren.
Oh, okay.
Grove, and you pull up that statue, you'll see it. And to back up the confirmation, you were able to literally see. Oh, Joe Biden's one of those people which went out there, by the way. But just putting it out there, a lot of prominent world leaders used to go out there, and it would be a lot of times these people, before you ever heard of them, they were out there, and then you look back years ago, it's like, what? Obama went to that? Bush went to that? What? Reagan went back? Yeah, and you start digging back, and you start realizing all of these elites, Le Pen's father, he went to that. Was it some of the people in the Bojo administration, Boris Johnson? And you start realizing, like, what the hell is going on out there? Why are these people going out there? And so a lot of people know about it. Just they bring in a lot of let's say people who work in man, I guess I just gotta say it. A lot of sex workers, a lot of masseuses and things like that going on up there. And they said, oh no,
Mhm.
it's just that they just it's kind of like the tame version of what was going on Epstein Island.
Mm,
That's what's
mm,
known about. Yes,
mm.
somebody said Santa Clara explains Bohemian Grove, San Francisco, and Silicon Valley. It's right up there near that area.
Okay.
And they would literally have like a mock sacrifice. They said it's a mock sacrifice. I'm not positive on Justin Trudeau, so I won't say Trudeau because I believe they shut it down maybe about 10 years ago, so I'm not entirely certain on some of the newer people. But this went on for a long period of time,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
a lot of them were going there. And then when like Alex Jones put it out, it started getting out there, and then as of late, as more people start figuring this out and start looking into it, they're like, all right, we got to shut down.
Hmm. Or just switch locations.
That part right there.
Hmm. That's just the way my brain works, but it is
Oh,
what it is.
I completely believe that's what's going on. I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I hear if you look over that whole Epstein Island, there's still shit going on. Just saying.
I wouldn't be surprised. Um, thanks to Eccentric Cast. Enjoying the stream. Thank you so much for the super chat. Now,
Oh, public message real quick. If y'all are not giving JB his thumbs up and subscribing, y'all best to do it. And I don't want just subscribing. You need to tap that notification so you get all those notifications and so you catch this man's streams live. That's how you get us in the algorithm. If you really want to help us, that's what you need to do. Give us those thumbs up. Give this man his thumbs ups. Give him subscribe and click the damn bell.
thank you, thank you very much. Now there was a tweet that was shared. Oh man, I gotta open Twitter again.
Oh,
Dang
you
it, JB.
said his name right. Good job. Or here, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not sure.
What happened?
They said first time someone said my name right.
Let me see. I got it in bookmarks. For some reason, my brain is going to crap right now.
I agree all the way off.
Okay. All right. Let's go to this because you said to me, please let's make sure we cover this on the stream. And
Oh,
I was like, okay, I got you, fam.
mm-hmm. Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
All right. So let's take a look at this BS. All right. So somebody named Coda Vet says, I am not responsible for your student debt. I grew up in poverty in North Carolina. Ate from a garden. Name was on Community Angel Tree for Christmas. Brought clothes from your sales. And if I was lucky, on a rare occasion, Sky City. I joined the Air Force and went to college. I made it happen. You said you wanted to respond to that.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to respond to that.
Please do.
Especially being a vet, being somebody who the military likes to go into our communities and go after people like us who maybe might not have enough money to go to college, might have was working towards a athletic scholarship in my case and end up getting injured. And realized, damn, I didn't take my academics well enough, or even some of the ones who I knew who did take their academics well, got into college and had struggles and ended up going outside of their reach. Also, just how this system is for anybody who goes into the military. For one, you should not have to fucking go to the military to be able to go to college. That's the first part.
Yeah.
If we're going to have a system where it's basically to the point where you need to at least have an associate to be able to have some kind of a decent income. I don't get why K through 12 is free, but you can't front the bill for 2 more years, even at a community college. I don't get that part. Now, if you feel like, you know what, I should be able to get reimbursed since I paid for my college, then that's one thing. But for all of these people who are getting tossed over the barrel unfairly, that is not how this should be. This is not how this society is supposed to run. And on top of it, it's not like this is any of your damn business anyway, what happens to these other people. I love it when people say, well, I shouldn't have to pay for you. Well, I don't want to pay for bombing all these black and brown countries, but I don't have a damn choice. I don't want to give a single weapon to Ukraine, but I don't have a damn choice. So why don't you shut up and quit worrying about when we try to do something as a nation to take care of our citizens? Because if you're going to have a government do any damn thing, I want to take care of the damn people because it says we the people by the people, then why come it ain't doing shit for the people?
That part.
So little Miss Susie, little Miss White Privilege here can take a couple of fucking seats down real fast and then have the nerve to put code of the vets. I was a member of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans and a part of Vote Vets for a while. Many of those members of Vote Vets had to go into the military. And in fact, most of the military is full of a lot of melanated people who come from poor incomes, which those areas were desolated by a lot of the redlining and a lot of racist policies that went on in this country. And you're going to tell these people who are already disenfranchised. Now, no, don't get me wrong. She might have had some kind of disenfranchisement, but I'm sorry. You are what America would consider a pretty little white girl. And we already know you can smile and bat your eyes in a lot of arenas and get you a lot farther than most of us. And the statistics show it and prove it. So you can shut the hell up. Especially you went to the Air Force. You guys barely even do any damn thing as it is. So, sorry, that's my little rant.
She's giving me some Real Housewives of New York vibes anyway. But look, here's the thing. Now, let's talk about the military and what they do. Fortunately for me, I have nieces and nephews that are teenagers in high school. And my nephew was telling me this, and it's actually been documented. I think it was documented on TikTok, where people will dress up, military recruiters will dress up in like regular clothes, and they will put up a pull-up bar. And guess what they do? They challenge anybody to do 20 pull-ups.
Oh yeah.
And then once they challenge that person to do 20 pull-ups, guess what they do? If that person successfully does that many pull-ups, they will stop them, and then they will be like, "Oh, put your name in this registry
for something."
Yeah, and guess what? Next thing you know, the U.S. military is sending letters to your house. They're sending recruiters to you.
Get this. This is what my school did. The recruiters just went to the school and asked for who's all going to graduate. Get all of their addresses and sent it to all of the graduating class. And a lot of times they didn't stop there. They went to the juniors. So you were hitting 17. More than likely, all of a sudden, you're getting this joined the U.S. Navy in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't help that I was Air Force ROTC already.
Mm-hmm.
They literally just hung out in our classrooms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then a lot of the military recruiters, you know where they like to hang out?
Mm-hmm.
They like to hang out at the mall like pedophiles.
Mm-hmm.
Walk around, hey, you ever thought about going to the military? You can travel over here, you can do this, you can do that. And that's what they do. They spin you on all this fun stuff you can do.
Yeah.
They'll tell you about all the messed up stuff you're gonna have to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they do this and they give you the promise of free college. They give you the promise of free healthcare. They use all this just so you can become cannon fodder for the military industrial complex.
Yep.
And so, they try to do that to my nephew. And mind you, if you are poor and living in a disenfranchised area, you're the person who they try to attract the most. Is that's what they really want.
Yep.
And never mind them also doing the recruitment online on Twitch, where they try to recruit you through games like Call of Duty and all these other games too, because that's also been documented as well. But yeah,
that's why they sponsor a lot of these like Call of Duty, like championships. Any of these games, they'll sponsor them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I just want to go to what I said, because
oh yeah.
I think people just don't realize what this person is saying, like how it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
I said, quote, I'm not responsible for your kids going to elementary school. I didn't have kids, so why should I be responsible for them and pay for your kids to go to school through my taxes? Give me a break. I said, this is how you sound right now. Now, I had to come back and respond and says, people in my mentions saying that I'm wrong because college isn't compulsory. I don't give a fuck if it's compulsory or not. Education is a right and shouldn't be blocked by economic means testing bullshit. It is a right and should be provided by the government. I said, and yes, I'm a socialist.
Mm-hmm.
So what? And even in socially democratic countries that aren't even socialist, they do this.
Mm-hmm.
So what? There's even countries that pay people to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my thing. If we, back in the day, was high school free?
Mm-hmm.
So what? It was college free. In some places, college was free.
If you go to before Reagan, back to this, like Reagan was a governor of California in '79, before he went on to become president.
Mm-hmm.
College in California was like dirt cheap if you paid anything.
Yeah,
that was across the United States. College was mostly free. Yeah. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, I mean, in some places where the only financial requirements they had was for room and board and food. That was pretty much it. Other than that, everything else is free. And with that being said, if we already pay for elementary, middle, and high school, what's 4 more years?
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, well, elementary, middle, and high school is compulsory. Actually, high school is only compulsory up to a certain age.
16.
Because once you hit 16, you can drop out. So high school isn't even completely compulsory.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if high school is not completely compulsory, but that gets paid for fully, then I think we should do K through 16. And if you want to advance to college, then you can do that. Or if you want to go to vocational school, you can do that. But make sure that it's provided for everyone.
Well, if you add on how all of these jobs, how they've inflated it's kind of like they've created literally steps, gradation levels. I'm not going to take you unless you have 2-year degree, 4-year degree. And so what that does is that starts limiting you to a certain job pool. And then with inflation and all the things that go on throughout our society, you are already telling people, if you don't have this, if you're not going to pay extra for this, you're going to be relegated to this level. Unless you're one of those people who are because most of the time this falls into you who you know. So I've met people say, well, I didn't go to college and I became for instance, because I work at a pump and boiler company, I became a boiler maker at 18. And so I made good money. But does everybody freaking know that? I've met people who's like, well, I went merchant marine. Does everybody know that you can become a merchant marine and have a way through that way? And it's just assume that we all have this knowledge of all these other ways of college. And I know, Jay, you're about my age. What did they tell us in school?
Oh, don't get me started. Do not get, oh my God. Yo, let's be real. And it was indoctrinated into us. Like, for instance, Cosby Show, right?
Yep.
You got to go to Hillman or you got to go to college. And then even when Sandra and Elvin, I'm going back now. Even when Sandra and Elvin decided to drop out of Princeton.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. Heathcliff and Claire, they had a conniption because they decided to drop out and open a wilderness store, right? And then on top of it, the grades that Denise and Hillman got, she was getting bashed for it. Basically, like, you need to go to college. That was hammered into us. There was a movie with Justin Long called Accepted. And what did the dad say? If you want a good life, you go to college. That was hammered into us like crazy. Like, college is the only way to actually have an acceptable life. And you were considered an acceptable person in society if you went to college. If you didn't, you were considered a deadbeat. You were considered unambitious. You were considered all these different things. And so that was drilled into our heads as millennials. It was drilled. And guess what? Now we have a system that is oversaturated with degrees and undersaturated with vocational abilities.
And undersaturated with pay.
Yes, undersaturated with pay.
I mean, how I always think of it kind of like these companies act like, I don't know if you guys play Madden when you used to create your own, you create your own team. And you could go in and you can go and trade all these top players.
Yeah.
Your team, all these like top level players, and then put them on like league minimum salaries. That's what these corporations do. They want to get all the masters and MBAs and all these people who have these degrees, but don't want to pay them jack. So you want us all to go to college, but you don't want to pay us what it costs for us to go to college. That's the reason why you got people like, for instance, Brianna Joy Gray, who got to the levels she was, and it was just finishing up paying off student loans. That's the reason why you had, and don't get me wrong, I'm not stumping for this person, Barack Obama, though I did years ago. That's a whole nother story. But you have people like Barack Obama, who was talking about as a state senator, well, actually not even only a state senator, as a U.S. senator, he was still paying student loans. Now, somebody like Barack Obama was still having to pay student loans. What does that tell you about how the society works as far as go to college?
Yeah. And remember, Biden said that he had no sympathy for us.
None.
Well,
that's what happens when you have people who don't, a lot of older people don't get the concept of inflation and how much things have changed. Like, I'll have somebody where I was like, yeah, man, when I was 14, I made $4.25 an hour. And they were like, don't worry about it. When I was 14, I made that too. And I'm like, yeah, but you're like 68. $4 an hour for you was like $25 an hour in today's day. So it's not even a fair or close comparison. And I feel like a lot of older Gen X and a lot of baby boomers do not get this.
Yeah. Because they never had to deal with it. Well, they didn't have to deal with it in as far as education goes.
Well, they forget that gas was like, okay, when you were making that 425, how much were gas prices? What, a quarter? How much are gas prices now? They have no understanding, and it's like, okay, well, when I bought my house in California, it was 150,000. Well, that same house in that same neighborhood now goes for 800,000. And wages have not kept up.
Yeah.
Going back into that predatory capitalism that we live in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And look, people say shit like this. Elementary school taxes are far less than even one college degree. Not even a good comparison. Not even a good comparison. Wait a minute. So you agree that even the college expenses are overly bloated?
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. Yep. God bless America. You agree that it's getting ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what? A lot of these colleges, they have stores of money. And then these companies that that basically are loan sharks, like Sally Mae.
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah.
I got roped up with Sally Mae and was it Fannie Mac?
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting mixed up, but you know them two motherfuckers.
Yeah. And thing is that it's like, well, yeah, why is that the case? And then you continue to keep going down. Let me see. Okay. This person says, I didn't have kids, so I'm definitely not responsible for paying anyone's college, period. If you signed a dotted line to take the money, then pay it back, period. Okay, so how many people, I was going to keep this thing a secret until I can, because I didn't want people to rip off my idea, but it's whatever. How many people watched The Little Mermaid and thought that Ursula was evil? Why was Ursula evil? Ariel, she signed the dotted line. Mm-hmm. It was legally binding, even to the point where King Triton even turned into that little creature. But why was Ursula evil? Ariel was young. She was impressionable.
Mm-hmm.
And what Ursula did was predatory.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then somebody like this would be saying to somebody, and I know it's fiction. But the premise of the argument is
non-fictional. I can switch it to non-fictional for you. I guarantee you, this is probably one of the same damn people who are talking about Free Britney. Did she not sign her contract when she was young and manipulated by the industry? But I guarantee you, Free Britney, that was so wrong how they did her. But you can't see the same thing for a 17, 18-year-old being manipulated into a huge contract like that.
Like, motherfucker, you're going to make somebody sign a multi-$1,000 contract when they can't even drink alcohol?
Mm-hmm.
What? You're gonna hold them accountable for that?
Keep in mind, this is a society where in a lot of these states, you can't even decide to go and get a tattoo or get your ears pierced, but you can go and sign $300,000 in debt.
Wait, a 17-year-old can sign a contract for $60,000, but they can't go into a Wawa and buy a pack of Cools and smoke up? They can't buy some Black and Milds?
Mm-hmm.
Wait. This country is so ass backwards. It's ridiculous. Because the thing is that you're going to sit here and allow them, like, for instance, you're going to allow a 16-year-old to get into a 4,000-pound projectile, and you're cool with that, but then you're going to also expect them to be able to pay. Like, but then you can't allow them to have a drink. You can't allow them to smoke. My thing is, okay, if that's the case, then don't allow them to pay for this either.
Yep.
Don't let them be responsible for this, because, and then y'all the same ones that say, well, the human brain isn't fully developed until the age of between 22 and 24. Then why are you making these kids sign these contracts?
Yeah. In fact, a lot of places you can't even rent an apartment by yourself at that age. So you can college, you can't rent an apartment on your own, but you can pay a whole lot of money in debt. You can stack up debt. That's why I say we live in Babel. We live in Babylon, the land of confusion, because this don't make no damn sense.
Because they're sitting here going, oh, well, you know, you signed it on the dotted line. They shouldn't look. And I'll put it this way. And I made a follow-up tweet after this. I said, yes, your student debt should be canceled because you shouldn't have had the debt in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Every single, okay. Let me close this thing. Okay, look into my eyeballs. I want come to the camera. Every single one of you that has student debt, every single one of you, you were cheated. You were gypped. You were bamboozled. You were run amok. You were had. You were played. Every single one of you that has student debt, every single one of you that had to go to financial aid, every single one of you were screwed. Every single one of you. From my homeboy you to Sabby Sabs to you know, people like the Bank sisters, to every single one of you were gypped. Because your education should have not been on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a right to you. I don't have student loan debt. You want to know why I don't have student loan debt? Because I never went to college. Why didn't I go to college? Because I saw my mother deal with student loan debt. And I was like, you know what? I don't want that for myself. So I went to a magnet high school and I got my education for free. Now, I can't make use of that education because I got sick, but still. So that's why I didn't go to college. Would I like to go to college? If it was tuition free and I can go back to college, hell yeah, I would go. Of course. I'd be, you know, my backpack and everything, looking like old school Kanye West, college dropout. You know,
I probably would be a forever student. I mean, I probably would go back and go finish my secondary education degree, go back and finish my my business administration. I probably would take up a couple of classes too.
Yeah, but look, and especially to a lot of Black women who hold the most college debt, y'all were screwed, man. They screwed the hell out of y'all.
Like
I feel bad for my sisters, man.
You ever see them movies when somebody wake up and they look all disheveled, one shoe is missing, and their pockets are turned all the way out, or a woman looking for a purse? That's all of us.
Yeah.
We just don't see it that way.
Yeah. You know, and my thing is even though I don't have student debt, I recognize that all of you shouldn't have it at all.
Mm-hmm.
None of you should have it. On top of having no medical debt. Now that I have. But no. And so I'm glad you wanted to bring this up. Thank you for, stating that, Marcus, because people are literally suffering because they have this millstone tied around their neck.
Yep. And
they're like, okay, every single dollar you pay me, I'm going to take a little nick out of the rope. All right, start paying up.
Well, JV, on top of that, let's think about it. At a certain point, you have to start thinking about how, because see, these people, they think very tunnel vision. They don't think about, we live in a society where everybody affects everybody. Now, if you have most of the nation going into this type of debt, regardless of if you feel like you shouldn't have to pay for it. You know what that does to a whole nation when they don't have disposable income? Do you know what that does to a nation when you're not going to have a whole group of people who are going to start being able to buy houses and all these things? You start to collapse your own economy, you morons.
Mm-hmm.
That's called cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Mm-hmm.
But these people are not even bright enough to understand that because they
Mm-hmm.
think like selfish people. Greed first. They rather tank the whole damn system.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the system's tanked, you know what they were? Well, I mean, we should have, because this is how these people work. I've watched these people and their thinking.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to do X because it might help Y. And then when everything falls to shit, and then it falls back into their own lap. Well, I mean, why didn't we do this? Or what about this? Or why don't we do X? Why don't we do all these other things? Well, it's too late now. You guys could have taken care of the problem, but it's like you can go to the hospital and check up, do little checkups. And then if you see the cancer early enough, you can stop it. These people want to wait till it's full blown stage 4 and you're having to go in and get all the most expensive treatments. This is how they deal with things because instead of being proactive, they're reactionaries.
Because there is no true profit in having a well-educated populace.
Oh, Jonathan, don't worry. I'm not going back to no. They ain't getting no dimes out of me, not at all. I prefer to educate myself and have people like JB and you guys out in the crowd educate me.
Yeah, and also there's no money in curing. There's no money in anything.
Well, because
when it comes to profit,
we live in a society where profit motive is the number one thing. That's the reason why you look at all the ancient societies. You know what was the largest thing? Ziggurats. Ziggurats are basically religious structures. A pyramid technically falls up under the category of ziggurat. You know what's the tallest structures in America in Western society? The banks. Think about it. World Trade Center. What was that? I mean, our biggest structures are the banks because that is the church of these places. Money.
Yeah. I mean, you have at the time, the tallest building in Orlando was the SunTrust building.
What does that tell you?
Yeah. They are the churches. They are the big churches with the steeple. Except for we just call them skyscrapers.
I realize I'd be remiss if I don't put up my my other background just so you guys could see it. For those who haven't been on my channel, you gotta plug yourself a little bit, right? Let me put up. This is what you guys will see. What I normally have on the show.
Yeah.
Got that one. So you got the young Morpheus, myself over the left, and you got my boy Chris on the other side. I call him Captain Lawson over there.
Yeah. Reality Revolution says Big Pharma owns the medical schools now.
Yep. That's the reason why even little things like I'm forgetting old boy's name right now, but he was talking about as far as I'm trying to figure out how to word it because I know they're still a little touchy on some of these things. Dealing with plague. We'll call it the injected serum. They were talking about aspirating the needles. Well, just the fact of not properly aspirated needles can lead to air getting into the bloodstream, can lead to myocarditis. That was talked about in Europe, and that was focused on. But for some reason, that wasn't talked about here. It almost seems like they kind of want people to get hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it this way. It's not the reason why we go to the hospital and they give you every freaking test under the sun. It's not because they really care about you, JB. It's because 2 reasons. One, if something does come up later on, I'm not getting sued. For two, I can charge you ass out of the woodworks for all these damn tests.
Mm-hmm.
All about profits all the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Reality Revolution, always coming through. Reality Revolution says, absolutely right. I'm a phlebotomist. I couldn't believe that BS.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they know about what I'm talking about, the aspirations. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you right now, look, phlebotomists, I love y'all because, look, I am built like a marshmallow. You cannot find a vein. Look, you literally have to summon Zeus, Vishnu, Jesus, Thor, Odin in order to find a vein on me. Because I'm built like a toasted marshmallow. Look at me. Y'all,
You're a fool, JB.
you gotta get Doctor Strange, to get the ruins of Kafka to find a vein on me, because you can't find none. no. And it's kind of crazy because I got my fistula here, access for dialysis too, and they can't touch that. And, oh Lord.
See, I'm the opposite though. They be looking at me like, get away from me. Get away from me. Stop. They be like, ooh, you got some good veins. Ooh, I like your veins. Ooh. Like, hey, get your weird, creepy ass nurse. Get away from me. Even though, like, I have a scar on one of my arms from I mean, this has been maybe 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
This lady was so horrible. She was just sticking it and digging the needle around in my arm.
Ooh.
Scar on my vein at this point. And people will see that to this day and think, like, damn, what happened there? I was like, oh, I was going to the doctor and they were drawing blood. And that's how they were like, how is it possible that they couldn't hit that vein?
Yeah.
It's like, if I could pull it up, let's see, a little bit further. Right here, huge vein.
Oh, okay.
And they couldn't hit that vein.
All right, since we showing off, all right. let JB. Yo, this ain't stripping. All right, don't y'all get all excited. If y'all want to, throw a couple. If y'all want to go over a couple of ones,
What's that song? Make it rain down on me.
Yeah, but look, all y'all see this? That is from dialysis having. Yeah, there's a lot of that, right? Okay, so. And by the way, Reality Revolution, I used to have a fistula, and now I have a hero graft, but that's a whole nother story. But, yeah, there's a lot when it comes to the medical field, especially here in the United States. It's more about just treating people to the point where they're stable and their foot, on their ass out the door. That's one of the reasons why there's times where I'm like, you know what? I'd rather go to a different country that actually focuses on true care and making people healthy and preventative medicine, and you'll get some people who will look at me as a person that's on kidney dialysis. They'll be like, well, I don't want to pay for you on being dialysis because it's your fault that you got sick. And then until they find out that what got me sick was something that I was born with, and that but then it's like, well, what if it's something that, is caused or not? It doesn't matter. Because,
and I believe, honestly, sorry to interrupt you. I honestly believe if we really start doing some investigating, we'd start finding out that a lot of the stuff that they put in our foods, as far as preservatives and all these things, which are coming in different medical treatments, which are not fully tested and vetted out, or why we have a lot of these different illnesses that we're having now to this day. So more than likely, some corporation is responsible for these medical costs and ailments that you and many others are dealing with now. So it already wasn't your fault. In fact, probably money should be coming your way for what you're going through, but instead these people look at it like, I don't want to pay for you. I mean, that's the reason why. One thing I loved about like the UK that I was impressed with is, do you know cashiers don't stand up in the UK? Not until they have customers. Do you know why? Because it's preventative care. If you're sitting down until you need to be up, that helps rest your back, your knees, and it eliminates from having to do all of those procedures and surgeries later. But Americans think that makes you look lazy. So I just want you to stand at the end of the register till somebody comes. Foolish thinking.
I'd rather look lazy and still be healthier than look busy. Got time to lean, you got time to clean. Bullshit.
Hmm.
Then risk my health. By the way, just a couple of years ago, when I used to work in sales, I was in furniture sales. They did not want to see us sitting at all unless we were with a customer, which
Hmm.
means we would be standing all day on either a tile or concrete floor
Yep.
all day and trying to sell things to customers. Do you know what it's like that when your feet are in pain, when your back is in pain, and you're trying to be presentable and sell to a customer? You can't do it.
Oh, I know what it's like. I'm military disabled. Part of that is due to reconstructive knee surgeries.
Wow.
And so that happened at an early age. And then so at this point now, I have patellofemoral syndrome in both knees. So those who don't
Mhm.
understand what that is, that's a form of arthritis. So imagine having arthritis in your knees since you were for let's say over 20 years now.
Wow.
And people look at you like, well, you're young and healthy. Why are you sitting down? Why not knowing that? And then not to mention all the arthritis that I have throughout my hands and wrists from defending this country.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys realize it or not, but shooting guns, even if you're just at the range shooting, does wear and tear to your hands, your shoulders, all of that stuff.
Wow. Mm. Because of the force and you having to, stabilize it.
Yep.
Got
Yes,
you.
it is. All of
Got
those
it.
things affect you. And then
Hmm.
so if you've had additional injuries, like I've had dislocated shoulder, rotator cuff, a lot of different injuries,
Hmm.
aggravates all of that stuff worse.
Yeah.
So we that's one thing that I look at. That's another understated thing about millennials, especially that
Hmm. Hmm.
so many kind of wear and tear medical conditions that are going on.
Hmm.
We're having to get out there a lot of times and still try to struggle and fight and do this and all that stuff. So I mean, it's not factored in at all. Trispinal
Yeah.
stenosis 20 years ago. Yeah, I sorry to hear that, John. Ugh.
Damn, John. Woo. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love when we have people who are in the medical field in the chat. Reality Revolution says gun trauma.
Mhm.
Wow. This man, I wish we can talk longer because
One
I
one
usually.
one of the weapons that was one of my that I went to school specifically, for extra
Mhm.
training on this and was a tech and operator was a 25 millimeter. Which a lot of people don't
Wow.
realize it's a double harness gun, which when it shoots, it's a
Oh
recoil
my god.
makes you feel. And
Mm.
so from that to 50 cows to all kind of other weapons, because what I did in the military was I was an ordnance mechanic or torpedo man, and then eventually did work with EOD. And so working at weapons stations, did a
Yeah.
lot of shooting security and then marksmanship. And so though I wasn't shooting at people, I did do a lot of shooting.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Well, not to mention that I mean, and I still feel like even though I didn't directly take lives, I feel still the blood on my hands of helping to send weapons to people because I worked at a weapons installation. We literally moved metric tons, like hundreds of metric tons of ammunition throughout the Mediterranean. And when you realize that and what your impact is on helping the United States harm other black and brown people, you start realizing, damn, I'm basically like a stormtrooper on, on the Death Star.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
It's a completely a mind trip when you realize it that way for people who have conscience.
Oh, yeah. I know uh friend to the show, Afeni, she also was in the military, and she talks about it, she as a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it bothers your conscience about what it was, but at the same time, I always want to tell people who I know that are veterans that you can't necessarily fault yourself because you were lied to into that
Oh
position, you
yeah.
know?
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, I just feel bad that you were lied to and put into that position. And and now you have to come to the realization that it's like, yo, I was involved in imperialism,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yes.
And
Sorry, John. I mean, I got a lot of brothers who were like that, and I had to, you know, when we go to like those different, like we'll have to sit and talk
oh, John.
with PTSD, and I mean,
Mm,
um, I, let's say I was in the theater.
hmm
I'll leave it at that, especially with EOD. I was in the theater, and John will know what that means. So,
mm,
and also even before then, when I first got over to, because see, I had a lot of ethnic Albanians, Bosnians, Kosovo and Serb refugee students, which came to my school because my school in high school was a sister city, Sarajevo. And
hmm
so hearing these traumatic stories that they were going through with
wow.
Milosevic, it made me feel like I'm helping. And so when I first got in, it was about, I'm trying to remember what it was called, not peacekeeping. We were helping um, we were helping clear minefields and things like that so they can help rebuild some of these areas so people could actually be able to come back and start to live back in. And seeing some of the impact of what war looks like, what was done, mines all over the places, buildings destroyed, bodies um, that you see in ways that you shouldn't see.
Wow.
It's disturbing. It really is. So, I mean, heart goes out to John and any other vets out there that experience that, or people, and a lot of people forget this, and the people who live with vets, because it's not
Mm.
always easy for us sometimes, and for the loved ones around us.
I think what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of people in the military are actually victims of imperialism as well, because they were lied to, they were put in position. A lot of times they had that dangling of free healthcare, housing, education put in front of them, and they were made desperate.
Mhm,
And so a lot of people who are veterans are victims,
mhm,
you know, and it's just, God, we got to get rid of it because
mhm,
it's just, it has done so much to not just the people who were murdered, in these countries, but also you were made to be cannon fodder
mhm.
for the 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 powerful.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, no, I'm not gonna use powerful because that's cheap. The exploitative, the oppressors.
Mhm.
You
It's no
know.
different than when you see like some of these warlords and they pull into a village, they decimate the village, and then they round up the young kids and make them into child
hmm
soldiers.
hmm
No different in my eyes. I mean, and it
Yeah.
made sense to me. One night I was either in Greece or Turkey, and I had an ethnic Albanian, and he was just going in on us as Americans. Like a couple months before that, an American that got stabbed out there, and he was explaining to us like why we would drive past the weapons while we're on our way to the weapons trying to remember weapons compound. You would see like spray painted in English, "Fuck you Americans, I hope you all die of cancer." You would see
Wow.
stuff like that, and being like 18, 19 years old, you're like, what the heck is that about? What do we even do? And then you learn what we've done.
And then you learn.
I knew people who were stationed in Japan. I mean, especially some older GMs, gunner's mates, and they would say like they would have grandmothers in Japan saying, "Why did you guys bomb us?" and start explaining
Ooh.
leukemia and the things like that that went on in
Oh.
those adverse effects that have went on throughout their community.
Oh my
It's
God, dude.
when you that's the reason why I joined, some of these vets organizations because I realized like what we were doing. And when you first find it out, it's not like you're like, all right, screw this, I'm getting out of the military. You are their property. And even if you say, well, I only did 4 years, a lot of people don't realize is even if you sign a 4-year contract, you signed an 8-year contract actually, because you have 4 years active and 4 years inactive. They can call you back within that 4 years at any time. That's not known. Even if you do 2 years, you still got 6 years inactive. So people don't understand how manipulative our government is and why they prey on black and brown people, especially young in our communities.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Mm.
Children showing you hate and you did nothing to them, then realize you are destroying their world. Exactly.
Yeah. Golly, this is some heavy. I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to end the stream on some heavy stuff, but this is necessary to hear because people need to know like how people in other countries feel, how veterans feel once they realize the bullshit that they were entrenched in.
Mhm.
Reality Revolution says, I saw some footage of a child in Libya crying and asking why we hate them. It was
Mhm.
devastating.
I tell everybody, watch the movie The Kingdom,
I
James,
heard about that.
and focus on the very end and the stuff that we've been talking about. It'll start making sense. It'll make perfect sense why it ended the way it did, because it's trying to convey a message to a lot of us that a lot of people don't get. And it took for me to have to, that's the reason why I care so much about foreign policy,
Yeah,
because I
I
realize
get it.
we talked about before. Who
Hmm.
does it affect mostly? It affects a lot of
Yeah.
black and brown people, and the very people who mostly don't pay any attention to any of these things are the people it affects the most. Yes, great movie, and thank you. They said this is a powerful scream. I mean, I didn't mean to get so heavy on some of this stuff, and trust me, I'm definitely holding back some stuff for reasons. But when you start to see what's really going on
Yeah.
outside of the U.S. and
Yeah.
how I don't see how, like, when I hear somebody say, "Oh, America's the greatest nation," ugh, it's so much that statement bothers me in so many ways. Greatest at what? Greatest at destroying? Greatest at stealing? I, how, which way do you want to say greatest?
I thank you for actually talking about this, and I thank you for the people in the chat who are also talking about this because this is necessary. Because you have to be able to combat the propaganda, the brainwashing that we're constantly plagued with. And they're always telling you, well, you know, you did it for a democracy. And it's like, did they?
We ain't doing nothing for democracy. It's just like it cracks me up when I still hear people say, "Well, America lost in Afghanistan." No, they didn't. America wasn't there to fight the Taliban. If they wanted, do you guys realize that we could have easily rolled in 600, 700, 8,000 people and subdued that whole nation just like that? Especially when you factor in all the other NATO forces. That's not what was happening. You know how many times that people like me are out there guarding Western CEOs as they worry about how they're going to extract opium from here or oil from there or natural resources from there.
Yeah.
Because if you go into a lot of these areas now, it's not even full of troops anymore. It's full of contractors, Western contractors, on how they can make money off of these areas. Yeah, foreign policy made me a leftist, definitely. It made me hate what the U.S. was doing because I realized it wasn't about defending democracy or none of that stuff. It's all about greed for our corporations.
Yeah. Mary Scary says, thank you for the super chat. Says, be going AWOL. Yeah.
Just be careful. When they're going to, you know what they're going to do, you go AWOL.
Yeah. You know, and so, you know, I would, you know what, I should have a stream with just all veterans on the left, and just and invite you guys just to have a conversation.
I'd be down for it, definitely.
Yeah, because a lot of you have, you know, you have the experience as well. Because for people like me, it's reading what's going on and, you know, seeing what's going on from other sources outside of the corporate narrative. And that's all I have.
That's the reason why I watch so much news outside of the U.S. But and I'll tell you right now, the nation which has been killing it the most, India. India's probably been the most free press that I've been able to follow that's, you know, that speaks in English.
Wow.
Because if you think about it, where they sit, they're right there neighbors to Pakistan. They're right there neighbors to China. They're not far from Russia, Ukraine, all of these issues where a lot of all these hotbed issues are going on. And so they have a window into where a lot of these different things are actually happening. One of the ones I listen to, this guy literally brings on experts from he brings over Russians, Ukrainians, Brits, Chinese ambassadors. He brings on all these different people and just lets them go at it. And so when you hear these exchanges and these debates and these dialogues, that's when you start to hear more stuff. Reality Revolution says, what do they do if you go AWOL? Well, what they do if you go AWOL is once they find you, they have you locked up for 30 days. After that 30 days, depending on how long it's been, they actually might charge you. You might end up heading your way out to a place like Leavenworth, out to Colorado, or and then after that, they give you, if they're nice, they'll give you general discharge. A lot of times they'll give you other than or dishonorable discharge. Then try getting a job with that and see what that does to the rest of your life and potential earnings. You might as well be a convicted convict, because that's what it's like if you get a dishonorable. Yes, even if you're not in combat. Yep, John Kemp, dishonorable at some point. Yep.
Wow.
They will destroy your life if you run. Now, what I would advise instead of running, I believe Nico did something like this. What was it? Conscientious observer status, where you can say that this conflicts with your moral code and things like that, and you're gonna have to fight it out for it. But I mean, the Navy, it was JAG, Judge Advocate General. Might be JAG in the other branches also, but you need to go to somebody like that and try to fight your way out of it. And if you, conscientious objector, that's the status that you want to push for to get out. Don't just run, because they will ruin your life.
Yeah. And as as raised, that in the organization that I was in growing up, we, a lot of us, especially in other countries, we had to be conscientious objectors, especially when it came to like drafts and things like that. So, some of us would have to go to jail, and serve time in jail, because we conscientiously objected to being in the military. One of the things that I actually, it surprised me and I absolutely did not want to do was we had to sign up for selective service when we turned 18.
Yep.
And anybody who's not in the United States, even though we don't have the draft per se anymore, We still every single male.
Elective service is keeping it so that if they ever needed to, all it takes is a switch of legislation instantly or executive order, and they're right back into the draft.
Yep. And then any male, especially those of you who are able-bodied, then you would have to be drafted into the military. And by law, you had to go into selective service. You had to be registered.
I think you still do.
I wouldn't be surprised, And the thing is that if not, then you can get in trouble with the law if you do not register under selective service. And I was shocked because, even growing up, because I was raised Jehovah's Witness, we were anti-war.
Okay.
And so for a lot of us, we were, I had to, even one of the people I was involved with, he said, you have to sign up for selective service. It doesn't mean you're actually going to fight because we don't have a draft anymore, but by law, you have to do it.
Extra, I think women now have to. Wow.
Really? They're really
in high school. They didn't have to back then, or when I was active, they didn't have to. But I was surprised at this point.
Yeah. John said, my recruiter at 17 told me not to check that box. I had no idea.
Mine too. I remember. Wow. You know why? Yep.
Wow. Yeah, because that's something that and to a lot of people who aren't aware, that's how the United States, works now. And so I wish that I could just be like, you know what? I consciously object to any military intervention that the United States gets in. So therefore, I would not be signing it, but I can't take it back.
No. Once you've already done it, it's already done. But I believe, don't quote me on this, but I do believe that there is a certain religious exemption. You just have to know exactly which religion to say you are.
Yeah. So it's just crazy. But dude, God, we can talk for so much longer.
Oh, yeah. And I told people that I'll be out at this event. Was it Stop the Mandates? Even if you guys are in favor of getting, the injected serum, I'm strongly against forcing anybody to do anything. So I'm gonna head out there for that. I'll be out there with Slow News Day. Pasta from the Convo Council. Not sure if Muriel will probably be out there too. But yeah,
okay.
I'm gonna be out there. John says Roman Catholic is one. I believe Judaism is another one. So
yeah,
we definitely are ones where you could wiggle out of that. But
yeah,
I'm gonna head out and be out with them. So if you guys are anybody out in the LA area, I'll be heading out there for that. If you'd like to meet me in person, just say hey. I'm very approachable, and I'll talk to anybody about anything.
Uncle Warren said, "No, I just checked. Women do not, but the government tried to do it, but got defeated in court."
That makes sense.
See, this is one of those times where I'm, one of those millions of times actually where I'm all for equality. So if women don't have to do it, then I shouldn't have to either.
That's why I'm like, I know that's here. Like I'm saying, women shouldn't have to do that, but that's one area where, hey, I don't want to force more people into having to do this.
Yeah,
just in equality. No.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
I'm like,
oh, Max Blumenthal will be there too. Okay, I'll try to see if I can.
To him. Sounds good. I'm trying to get Pasta and Fiorella on my channel. So if you guys are watching Pasta and Fee,
I'll reach out to them. I gotta. I can put a bug in their ear,
put a bug in their ear. Be like, hey, hurry up and get on JB's channel.
I will. They just recently, I had on, what was it? They were like on back to back. So probably about 2 months ago, I had them on my channel. Love them to death out there. Pasta makes a good burger if you're able to. He has this like, I know how you are about food. It's like this, it's like this garlic aioli.
Don't do that to me.
Woo! It's
Lord.
I think I heard.
You know I like to eat. Look at me, man.
Hey, man, hey.
Garlic aioli.
That one, I'll be the bad guy.
You are the bad guy right now because I would like some garlic aioli. Look, oh, by the way, before we go, I've been raving about this. I even raved about this to my dietitian. I tried hummus for the first time a few weeks back.
Yeah.
Oh, that stuff was yummy. Oh my goodness.
Yes. And that was not trying to do no 666 signs. I know for some of you guys.
No. Yo, real talk. I almost started to sing to the tub of hummus. I found the masterpiece in you. The work of art is true. Look, let me tell you. Can y'all see I'm a foodie? Look, I am such a foodie. Look, I think I'm more of a foodie than Sabby Sabs. And that's, look, Sabby, she's a foodie.
Yeah.
She's a foodie like you and I.
Well, remember we talked about you were on that stream with Franco, and we were talking about doing some kind of a cookout type thing with all the
Yeah.
I was asking you, do you want ribs or do you want Baricua food? Because hey,
why not both, man? Come on now.
I'll say because I no longer eat pork, I have to take the pork part out, but one of my favorite dishes always used to be the tripleta, which is like a mixture like 3 different meats. It has the papa fritas on there, fried little sauce on there, and then growing up in KC, we definitely fire up some nice beef ribs and a good brisket.
Ooh.
And KC barbecue is about the sauce too. The sauce is just important as the marinated meat. The whole process is important.
Ooh. Damn, I gotta get in my kitchen and cook.
Oh yeah, I can send you some recipes.
Oh, don't you do it. Don't you do that, damn dog. Don't you do that, damn dog. Wow. Damn, I wish we were only like an hour in. Damn, this time goes back so fast.
Well, that just shows that, I was always told you got to make sure you always leave them wanting more. So,
yeah. Oh, Creative Experiments just said this. Rome shared his shrimp asparagus recipe one time. Yeah.
It sounds so good. And here's the sad thing, because of my I guess we'll say my faith. I can't eat shrimp anymore. Oh, I miss it. I miss it. Oh God, I miss it. But man, I gotta maybe I can find a chicken version of that. Maybe reach out to Rome and ask him about that, because I love some damn asparagus.
Yeah, asparagus is really good. I actually made a cream of asparagus soup in culinary school. That was pretty good.
I told him, I said, when you come back out to LA, we got to holler. I'm firing up a nice fat juicy steak for you, some ribs, whatever. And we're gonna get out there, do some work out there, and then
and also, I want to try this. Now, it's something I've been thinking about. Okay, so you get some big portobello mushroom caps, right? And you prep them, you score them on the bottom. Then you take some olive oil, brush them down with olive oil, put them on the grill, right? Then you take some smoked mozzarella cheese. Mozzarella. And then you put it on there, and then you saute or you grill up some peppers and onions, and then you put them on top of the smoked mozzarella inside the portobello mushroom cap. I'm thinking about a recipe like that.
That sounds fire. That sounds. You gonna have to let me know about that, JB.
JB, we're gonna let you know, baby.
I'm at the DM you my number. We're gonna have to trade some recipes.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We got to. Damn, this conversation's so good. I just don't want to let you go, brother. But
I told Steve, I was like, I'll try to make it. I was like, I got an interview, but I'll try to make it. He's like, the event's for 8 hours. You can make it. I'm like, all right, bro. I'll be out there. I'm like, but you do know I got a show in the afternoon too. I got my little young gunner. My show, Talk of the Ages. And so
Mm-hmm.
he's in college right now, so we've had a little bit of trouble scheduling wise, but we'll be back
Mm-hmm.
on my What I've Been Thinking page, which when you guys see me, because a lot of people, they know me from Political Matrix, and they
Mm-hmm.
realize it's me also when I'm in a lot of these chat rooms, because
Yeah.
we under What We've Been Thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like my original page. So we're gonna be talking. We're gonna be going deep into this whole like Oscar stuff, not just a slap, but we're gonna be going a little deeper.
Are you going to be going into the Harvey Weinsteins and Roman Polanski BS that they got up in there, or that?
Are we going into that? We're gonna go into the whole John Wayne stuff.
Oh, the John Wayne thing when there was like 5 or 6 dudes had to hold him back from slapping an indigenous woman.
All that.
Oh my goodness.
You remember how like Steve Harvey for the longest had the Hoodie Awards? We're gonna talk a little. All this is gonna be.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Steve Harvey and Hoodie Awards. What?
You don't know about the Hoodie Awards?
No.
Yeah, for the longest, he used to have these Hoodie Awards, and what it would be is like for his radio show, he would set it up, and maybe they might be in Vegas one year.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Out in Brazil another year, and so they would have this and all get together, and it was kind of like, it was almost like a little award show kind of thing that he had, with a whole lot of black celebrities and stuff. So,
oh yeah, I seen the one with Lavelle Crawford and Homeboy that played Mr. Brown. Yeah, they were joking, they were clowning on each other at that awards. I saw that. That's what that is.
Yeah, that was the Hoodie Awards.
Okay, yeah, well, I know about that.
Talking to some of my thoughts on what I think about and what I think we should be doing. Then I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Okay.
And I know Jalen gonna have some thoughts. Young Jalen Lawson.
Yeah. And you know what? If y'all can get on, jump on BET too.
Oh, already done.
Already done.
One thing I try to tell people who don't know about me is researching is one of my favorite things to do.
Cool.
And so I'm gonna dig as far as they let me dig, and I'm gonna try to, because my whole thing is I'm always nuanced about all these things, because I think everything has so many levels. It's not just black and white. It's so many levels of gray before you get to the black side. So I like to try to look at everything nuanced. Sometimes I could be right, sometimes I'm wrong, but it's about engaging us to think about these things in so many different ways. And like one of my older videos, I was telling people that all your views, you need to take everything you've ever thought about, all these things which you hold hardcore or loose, and re-examine it all. And reassess it from time to time. Do you still really believe this, or do you say you believe this, or do you say you support this, or how fervently do you support this, or this just virtue signaling for you here on this issue? And so sometimes you got to do all that self-reflection and really dig in. And so I try to always have those deeper introspective, because I'm always talking. Back in the day, I was always talking about all Socrates and Descartes and all these different philosophers and stuff like that, and that, and with strategy and philosophies, and so I always try to go as deep as I possibly can on things. I gotta mention this. Next week, I'm gonna have Carl Za on. For those who don't know Carl Za is, they call him a Chinese influencer. He runs a podcast. It's on YouTube. It's Carl Za, but he has Silk and Steel podcast. I believe I'm saying it correctly. This man and his analysis on all the stuff that goes on in the regions of China. He's based out of Bali, and so figuring out the logistics of that was a little crazy, but it's going to be a hell of an interesting conversation. We're going to talk about, all this stuff going on with Russia, Ukraine, China involved, Taiwan. supersonic missiles. We're going to talk about projectile EMP. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Also, just to everybody know, I already got, Marcus's Twitter as well as the Political Matrix links in the description below.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys can give that a sub and check him out on his channel. And also, just look, like I always say at the end of my program, I also made a tweet about it. If you haven't had any water today, go ahead and have a sip of water. Okay?
Yeah, and thank you for that, because you always remind me more water. I'm bad on it.
Yeah. I mean, I have my times where I'm not doing so good, so I have to make sure. It's really a reminder for me. I'm just projecting it out, There's JB, got to make sure he does it too. But water your plants, water yourselves. Okay. Mm-hmm. Also, one thing before I go. Stop thinking less of yourself because of the mistakes that you have made in your life. You made a mistake. You learned from it. You turned around. Move on. To all of you that are watching, stop looking down on yourself and be happy that you had the conscience to change that mistake. Yeah. No matter what it is, be happy about that and be proud of yourself that you had the conscience to do that. Okay? So wanted to put that in there as well. Make sure to always leave the world better than you found it, even if it's just a little piece of somebody's world. You changed it. Okay? I just want to say thank you to you, young Morpheus, for coming in and gracing me with your presence.
Oh,
I feel graced now.
My pleasure. All the pleasure was on this behalf over here.
Thank you so much.
Hey, and always keep in mind, one thing I'll add on to that. Whether you realize it or not, we all have an impact on somebody. Just try to make sure that could be a positive impact. Think about it. Everybody knows Martin Luther King, but a lot of us don't know maybe that second grade teacher who might have said a couple of good words to him that might have sent him in different directions. So all of us have an impact. It takes a village to raise a child, and we're all still children, and I believe that resides, and so we all got to help raise each other, and we can all do better.
Definitely. And I just want to say, continue to just do the best you can for everybody. Leave the world better than you found it, and smoke them if you got them. And if you don't smoke, drink it if you want. Or if you do neither, take a breath of that cool breeze and oxygen, baby. I love you. Take care, everybody. Forehead kisses. Mwah.